I am Sunny Brous. I am a patient fellow from Texas. This is my first event that is not patient-centric. My sister and I traveled to Washington, D.C. in May of this year to participate in the ALS Advocacy Day, and that was all patients. Everything was kind of focused around us and what we can do to be better, and so it's interesting to be the minority at this conference and to be able to hear from people that are way smarter than me and that are leading the way in research globally, and to be able to vocalize my thoughts and my feelings towards some of this. I've learned so much, and I'm so grateful to everyone that is doing research in areas that aren't just drug or gene or any of the super high-end smart stuff. It's been very interesting for me to see the presentations on patient care and patient wishes, especially this morning's about end-of-life decisions and stuff like that. I think that's very important, and I think that's an important topic that needs to be broached when the patient is ready, not necessarily when the clinical staff is ready. I feel like sometimes the conversations turn into check boxes versus actual human being one-on-one conversations. So it's interesting to see that, or it's faithful. It gives me hope that people are continuing to keep the patient in the conversation and not just looking at it from a purely quantitative stance. I am very pro-choice, not from the standpoint that I would ever utilize everything that falls under the pro-choice decisions, but that I feel that it's my body and I should be the one making the decision on what happens to it, not a government entity. And so for me, even early when I began driving, that was a conversation my mom and I had about, if you're having to make a decision of do or don't err on the side of I'll see you on the next side, not I know where I'm going, and not I don't want to be in a vegetative state, I don't want to be a medical marvel, I don't want to be bound to a bed. I'm very much so quality over quantity, and so the moment that my life becomes quantity instead of quality, that's when I'm ready to go. And part of that is being an organ donor, so the conversation this morning about ALS patients organs being accepted as long as it's disclosed, I think that's phenomenal. My maternal grandparents both donated their body to science, and that's something that runs in our family line, so that is something that I'm definitely interested in. But to be able to donate to science for the matters of research, and to be able to donate my organs to prolong the lives of others, is two completely different intrinsic rewards for me. And so I think that that's something that that was exciting for me to hear that in Canada that is an option, and something that's happening. So for me, it's always been just I want to live and I want to go and do, and when the time comes, then I know where I'm going and I'll see you on the other side. In a perfect world, how I see it happening is that we throw a big party, everybody celebrates, and then the next morning I'm not there to recover from a hangover when everyone else is. So I definitely want it to be a matter of celebration and a matter of living my life to the fullest, and not something that falls in burden to my family or anyone around me. I signed my advance directive at my very first multidisciplinary clinic appointment, I did have to amend my wishes and my desires, and I've been very vocal with him and with my family about what I want and what I want my end of life to look like. Recently I signed my Do Not Resuscitate. That was something that was important to me just because of the physical trauma that comes with resuscitation. So my hope is that if something happens and I do become incapacitated in that state, that the DNR will come into effect before decisions are having to be made. My biggest fear through all of this is that there will be regret or worry from those closest to me that they made a decision that I wouldn't have made for myself. So if the situation arises and I'm not able to communicate what I want them to feel confident in making that decision on my behalf, and that is to not be betrayed, to not be moved into that state, to be let go passively